Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, November 22nd, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here, December corn up 2 at 428 3/4. January soybeans were up 5 1/4 at 983, and December Chicago wheat was down a half at 548 1/4. This morning, we had an export sales announcement from the USDA of 198,000 metric tons of soybeans to unknown destinations for 24. Good morning, guys. We'll put a bow on this week. We've got option expiration today. So for those still holding December options, certainly get in touch with your consultant there and see what next course of action is going to be. Ben, maybe a few thoughts as we wrap up the week, and then we'll throw it around the room.
Yeah, I think that, in spite of the fact that we haven't really seen any major flash sales, the last exports were a little bit better this week than the previous week, but well off the 3 weeks ago. Corn has been incredibly resilient. It looks like a kind of a proclivity to buy corn and sell beans from people who are trading. Beans got really close yesterday and overnight to taking out its contract lows. Options and next week, first notice day, particularly for corn and wheat, I think should be a pretty big trade. I think we'll get out of this range that we've been in, this 25 to 32, if you want to call it that, and kind of maybe shake some things loose. Looking at the overall fundamental picture of corn, spreads probably don't seem to jive with that narrative, and maybe there's a correction in the offing, or maybe there's something we're missing. If we were to go into the January report and see a couple bushel reduction and continued purchasing, I think corn could get interesting quick. But if you look at Mexico purchases versus the last few years, I think it's fairly safe to say that it has been front loaded. So the risk over the horizon is we don't see a decrease in production, and we don't see the kind of business that's penciled in for China and Mexico's already bought. So it's kind of a lot jarbled into 2 minutes, but that's kind of where my head's at. I think beans here, if you step back and look at the chart, they really are kind of gunning to try to take out those lows. There's a possibility that, this could be a quarterly or multi-quarter play like we saw with buying beans and selling wheat last year. So I think that's a trade that you have to really keep an eye on. And, if things were to shift in South America, as short as this market is, you can see we have 20-cent short covering rallies in beans, just people that pound into it. And at some point, maybe we'll have all that priced. Maybe it's priced today and we can't take those lows out. But we are stretched going into option expiration with corn at the high end of its range and beans at the low end of their range.
And you mentioned next week being first notice day. It's going to be an interesting first notice day with Thanksgiving. It's going to be a short week, so you're going to really have to decide really by Wednesday, essentially what you want to do, for those that are holding futures. Dustin, maybe a couple of things to add from your desk here this morning.
Yeah, so first notice day is on Friday, a week from today. So last trading day prior to first notice day is Wednesday, like you mentioned. The last couple of first notice days have been, wrought with weakness because basis only contracts and DP contracts need to be rolled. A little bit different this time when you got funds buying. You've got, what appears to be still a lot of bushels that need to be sold. And then, as Ben mentioned, what looks to be a front-loaded demand market. We think it's front-loaded. I mean, Mexico could continue to buy. China could come in and start buying as well, too. We don't know how phase one will be renegotiated in the first part of the year, and the new administration's made that clear that they want that to be part of their priority. And if China does end up being a major buyer, well, that would certainly put us into another realm of potentially higher prices like we saw it going into 2021. Right now, we've got a 2 billion bushel carryout, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense of why the spreads would be inverted, like July D's, for example, or even March D's, getting to option even money. So the next thing I think we would want to just watch for is any change in that currency. And then as we pick up more and more volume in those new crop contracts going into the new year, that hyper focus on the fact that corn on corn is not profitable compared to beans on corn for a lot of balance sheets. How many of those acres are going to stay in a bean corn rotation instead of corn on corn this year? And if we are kind of sitting around that 89, 90 million acres corn, we need to see a trend line yield again just to prevent us from going backwards on carryout. So I think if anything that looks rather underpriced right now would be DH25 corn, personally. Nov 25 beans, though, testing below $10 overnight. And that ratio has been falling. Nov 25 beans divided by DH25 corn. The market may go the other route, which may try to provide the disincentive for beans to try to garner acres just because it's well supplied. So I don't want to rule that out either. It's just going to be an interesting end of the week, though. At least a little bit of a positive action to start the day.
Yeah, sure. And it was interesting to see overnight you had Bitcoin crack 100,000. So that's, for folks in the outside markets, that's kind of a milestone, and it did it pretty quick.
Well, you just go to like all dollar denominated assets. Bitcoin's one of them. I think there's a bit of more of a fad there. I mean, there's a lot of weird things happening in crypto. But gold, for example, that's a much more established market, obviously. And even on this latest push to new highs for the move in the dollar index, gold is on a rebound, potentially on the fact Russia used ICBMs for the first time in a wartime scenario. But hard assets are obviously continuing to gain value despite strong currency moves. And it's not that the currency is strong against hard assets. It's just strong against other currencies, strong against the euro, the yen, the Canadian dollar. So you look at corn priced in dollars out to DH25, DH26, what's going to continue to justify these prices? It's going to have to be a drop in cost of production. Well, or you start facing the fact that growers will start looking for cheaper crops to plant, or you might see some of those fringe acres, sit fallow this year. There's a lot of things that I think generally find their way into fixing themselves. Low prices are the best cure for low prices. If we can't see much profitability in corn next year, I think the balance sheets will start to suffer, and demand should be rather concerned about that going into the year, that they might have to compete against a rationed market.
Well, and you and I have been going through it quite a bit as the rest of our team is. We're already starting to visit with folks about potential crop insurance plans, obviously running through a number of hypotheticals because there's a lot of things that can change between now and March. But I think it highlights the fact that this year, understanding how a lot of these programs can coincide with your marketing and can coincide with some of the products that are available in the insurance space are going to be, really, really important to trying to create what we look at as a profitable matrix, or a less red matrix on our side. So that's a shameless plug, of course, but for those folks that maybe have questions or are looking at some sort of wanting an analysis as you go into next year, just give us a call. Love to visit with folks and go through some of the things that we're looking at, because there are, like I said, some unique ways that we're looking at to get creative this year for managing profitability there. Ben, anything else on your side? Are we good to put a bow on it for the week?
I think we're 365 days away from the next December options expiration. And there's a lot of things that'll happen in the next year. So it's been not as fun as 22 and 23, but you never know. There's a lot of potential here in some of these feed grain markets if we can continue to see demand roll in. So
well, that's spoken like a true veteran there, Ben. I love it. You're back at it for another 365.
I'm here for another year. I'm logged in.
Good stuff, man. Rye, we've got cattle on feed at 2:00 Central. Maybe run down what you're looking for there, and then wrap up the week for cattle.
Yeah, so I mean, cattle trade a little bit weaker yesterday, and I think overall everybody just wants to see what's going on with the report. So on feed, the market's expecting 99.9% for November 1st. Placements at 103.3 and marketing's at 105. So we'll see how those numbers come out, if there's any surprises here. But we're also still waiting for kind of the bulk of cash to start to surface here. We've seen a little bit of 184.5, 185. So generally steady. I mean, there's some word that would maybe even some 186 in some areas yesterday, but very light volume so far. So only seen some 290 trade in Nebraska. So it feels like we're butting up against that. And overall, it just seems like the managed money is still pretty long this market. Open interest was up. 2,600 contracts, so it still seems like we're gaining some support here. I think a lot of that was probably focused more so on the February, just with the gain in commitment there. So yeah, I think overall just waiting to see what happens with cash and the report here later this afternoon. On the hog side, we're gaining some momentum back to the upside here. Open interest was up 2,500 contracts, so we're still kind of feel like we're seeing the funds kind of defend positions here, especially at like key support areas, 40-day moving average and such. Even with carcass lower, down $1.50 yesterday. Bellies were down at $6 yesterday, so new lows for the move there. But again, we're seeing another big ham volume, likely holiday business here. So I mean, I think that's something to keep an eye on. But it feels like the market's kind of shrugging that off right now, for the most part. And we are discount. We're discount to the index. We're discount to cash. So that seems to be a good reason why you're just not shaking out a lot of the longs right now, even as we're seeing some of the fundamentals start to weaken up. So overall, just kind of feels like we're waiting for one to move, either cash or futures at this point.
Very good. And Rylan will have his reaction to this afternoon's cattle on feed in his evening commentary, and then I'm sure we'll visit about it there on Monday in the war room. We made it, fellas. It's the end of the week. It's everybody's favorite time. It's Fun Fact Friday with Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Happy Friday, everybody. As Dan mentioned, we have Thanksgiving next week, so I thought we'd kick it off with a little fun facts about Thanksgiving. The first Thanksgiving was held in 1621. It was a 3-day festival. 50 pilgrims, 90, I'm going to get this right, Wampagum Indians celebrated this occasion here. Actually, no turkey was served. It was more of geese, ducks, and swans. So even though turkeys were plentiful over there, that was not on the menu. It was usually celebrated mid-October. It kind of coincided with Canadian Thanksgiving, aka Boxing Day. It wasn't until Lincoln moved it into November to coincide with the Pilgrims landing at Plymouth Rock. This is an interesting one. In 1953, a Swanson employee was overestimating how many frozen turkeys they should purchase. They were left with 260 tons of extra turkey. Instead of eating that loss, they invented the TV dinner. So that was a very quick move on their part. The first football game was in 1876, a riveting game between Yale and Princeton, where Yale won the game 2-0. Wow, a lot of offense there. It sounds like a Bears game.
Yeah, still would have lost.
I got 46 million turkeys will be cooked on Thanksgiving. And speaking of turkeys, I thought this, Rylan, you would like this one. Female turkeys don't gobble. Male turkeys gobble, gobble, and the females cackle.
Oh,
we could get in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, seriously, you're leading. We're going on a weird path right now.
And I'll leave you guys off with a Thanksgiving knock-knock joke. Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Normally
who?
Normally, I don't eat this much. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a great week ahead.
Thanksgiving.
All right. Thanks, Bri. I tell everybody, you never know what you're going to get on Fun Fact Friday. So there you go. Normally. Okay, got it. Appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like or subscribe. It'll certainly help us out to keep you up to speed on everything AgYield. Doesn't cost you anything to do so. So thanks again to everybody that subscribes and watches us on a daily basis. We certainly appreciate that. I'll get you a quick rundown here real quick as we opened. December corn up 1 3/4 at 428.5. We got January beans up 5.5 at 983 1/4. And December Chicago wheat is down a half at 548. Every day that the markets are open, we're streaming live on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.